What up world, it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ and I'm back with another video for you. This time around I want to understand how so many royalties are locked in the black box and how you can get them out. Stay tuned. So according to IRS documents filed in 2021, there's at least $500 million locked in the black box, unavailable to musicians and songwriters. Now I say unavailable very loosely because you can access them, you just haven't done the work in order to claim them. And that's the reason why they're in the black box to begin with. So the question is, how did we get here in the first place? This doesn't make sense. There's millions of dollars inaccessible to artists and songwriters, and who's gonna get them? The primary reason is because the music business is way too complicated. There are thousands of people involved in the music creation process and the distribution of music. Not to mention there are complex legal terms, outdated laws, and things that are barriers to you getting to your royalties. By the way, this is a side note. This video is primarily for musicians and songwriters in the United States. I don't know much about other countries, and so you're gonna have to defer to experts in those places. Let's start with streaming royalties, the most basic of royalties out there. So I found this chart made by some lawyers that actually know how to speak human, and it's great. It's a great tool for you to see how royalties are broken down. When your music is streamed on streaming services, it's broke down into these nice little percentages. About 60% of what's paid out to creators from Spotify, Apple Music, those types of places is what's called the streaming royalty. So you know when you use one of those streaming royalty calculators and try to understand how much you're gonna get, this is the percentage that I'm talking about. Next up are mechanical royalties, and they're called mechanical because music used to be physical. And if you ask anyone that still has a basement and a record player, it's still physical. This royalty is for anybody that wants to make a copy of the music. So that's why it's called copyright, because you have the right to copy the music. Back in the day, in order to sell music, you had to make a physical copy. Either it's on wax or it's on tape, and you had to deliver it to the human being that's actually going to be listening to it. Or you had to perform it for them in front of an audience. Now all of those copies are digital, and the same rules apply to duplication. So if we turn to our thoughtful lawyer document, it has a nice little graphic where about 6% of the royalties put out by streaming services are a part of that mechanical royalty. So the streaming services pay out these royalties to the Mechanical Licensing Collective. If you're curious about this video, be sure to check out the video that I've created about this topic specifically. So the third type of royalty is a performance royalty. Now this is where ASCAP and BMI come to play. So they collect on behalf of the people that are creating the song. And I'll get to those differences in a little bit. The people that register are the songwriters, the producers, the publishers, all of the folks that are responsible for owning the song that is written for the music. So we all know that song by Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. Well, it wasn't written by Whitney Houston, and this is a common example used in the music business to explain performance and publishing royalties. So that song was written by Dolly Parton, and then Whitney Houston came in and sung the shit out of it, and it became a hit. It skyrocketed out of here. So Dolly Parton wrote that song, and the musicians that were a part of that song also get paid every time the Whitney Houston version is played or streamed or put into a movie. Meaning that by default, Dolly Parton is also rich too. So don't tell me you can't make money as a songwriter. There's also what's called digital performance royalties, and these digital performance royalties are based off of songs that are played on digital radio stations like Pandora or Sirius XM. And the last type of royalty is a sync royalty. So you know that song, I Will Always Love You, sung by Whitney Houston, written by Dolly Parton. Well, it showed up in the movie The Bodyguard, and that's a sync royalty. When they connected that song to the visuals of that movie, then you have the outcome of a sync.
Sensational.
So every time that movie gets played or shown somewhere, Dolly Parton earns a royalty. That's a songwriter royalty. And then Whitney Houston gets a performance royalty. All right, cool. So those are all the royalty types that are collected. But what's the problem? How did we get here in the first place? Who messed everything up and put all of these songs into a black box where people have to access these royalties now? So here's the problem with tracking all of that data. It's difficult. When we're talking about music, we're talking about two different terms. We have the song and we have the recording. The song is the music that you hum to and the lyrics that you rap when you're listening to Spotify. But the recording is the final compilation of all of those parts that you put on a playlist and that you ride along to when you're in your car. Now, this sounds like a really dumb distinction, but it matters because all of the data that makes up the song and the data that makes up the recording is part of the complication. You see, when metadata gets transferred from place to place to place, and what metadata is basically all of the information that identifies a song, the ISRC code, the IPI number for the songwriters, the name of the song, the artist, where it was recorded, what date it was recorded. All of that information is important. So after lots of lobbying to Congress finally created a bill that is called the Music Modernization Act. And what it did was modernize the way that streaming services put out a notice of intent. And what a notice of intent is basically a document that says, we intend to stream this music that is owned by somebody else. So if the metadata ends up incorrect and streaming services and distribution services and all these other music playing sites have not been coordinated with the types of metadata that they collect and the types of metadata that they report. So those royalties end up going into a black box that you have to access by claiming your work. So some of that $500 million that I talked about at the beginning of this video could be yours. You could have a lot of DoorDash on the way. So the last piece I want to talk about is how to claim these things. So I'm going to take you through 5 steps that'll help you get your royalties out of the black box. So this last part of the video is about to be really detailed. So grab something to write with, grab your laptop, find some time because this is going to take a while. So here are the places that you need to sign up to in order to collect your royalties. First is a performing rights organization like ASCAP or BMI. And what you should do is sign up as a writer and a publisher, especially if you're independent. That publisher piece is important. That's your money too. Find a bank account to store all that money. If you're independent and you work by yourself, you don't really have a business, you can use your social security number to open that bank account. But keep it separate from your personal funds so you can understand where your money is going. When it comes to ASCAP and BMI, people often say, does it matter which one I sign up to? And ultimately, yes and no. It's not a straight answer. And that's because it depends on what you need from your performing rights organization, and everybody's needs are unique. I can tell you my personal preference is ASCAP. That's because they're still nonprofit, and BMI is on the way to being a private company. Now, that doesn't mean that that's a negative. That just means that I prefer the company to not have a conflict of interest with growing profit and representing me as a songwriter. And if you have a lot of songs, you can sign up for what's called a publishing administrator. I have an entire video on that about TuneCore Publishing Administration. And what they do is take all of your songs, make sure that they are collected and aggregated, and They often do the registrations for you. Next, you want to sign up with Sound Exchange, and there's two different types of signups. You can sign up as a rights owner, and you can also sign up as a performer. If you're both, then sign up for both accounts. Everything is pretty straightforward. Every one of these accounts will have you sign up and then connect your bank account in order for you to collect your royalties. Lastly, you want to sign up with the Music Licensing Collective, the MLC, and also Harry Fox Agency, but also Music Reports, and any other mechanical agency that you can think of. Harry Fox and Music Reports are different from the MLC. What they do is find big corporations that want to license music and then help facilitate those licenses between the rights owner and the company. So you can get a little extra money by distributing your music to places like jukeboxes or fitness apps, and those licenses will be administered by Harry Fox or Music Reports or some other agency. The MLC is a little different. You remember those notices of intent that I talked about? Well, those notices of intent get connected to the MLC so they can pay out your songwriter royalties, your publishing royalties, and those other royalties based off of the mechanical royalty that you're owed. Now, once you signed up to all of those agencies, your work is still not done. Yeah, you got some more work to do. I'm sorry. You have to do the work of connecting all of your metadata to your catalog. And that doesn't mean that you go and upload the songs to every one of these agencies. That means that you go ahead and you fill out the forms that include all of the metadata of the songs that are in your catalog. If you have a lot of songs, that means you might need to do a bulk registration. That also means that you might have to pull up a YouTube video to learn how to do Excel or Google Sheets. And you also need to fill out their sheet in the way that they want you to in order to connect to your songs. If you don't take this step, then that's how your royalties end up in the black box to begin with. That means that artists and songwriters and music owners are going to have to take responsibility for claiming all of those royalties that they're owed. But you can't be owed royalties if you don't actually get some streams. So that leads me to step 5, doing just that. Now, I have playlists on this channel right here where you can watch and learn and understand how to promote your music. This is things like Pandora Amp, Submit Hub, using social media to share your music, and also things like meta ads for Facebook and Instagram advertising. I think if you just set aside one day a week to promote your music, you can make miles and miles of progress in order to get your music streamed and heard. And then you can collect all of those royalty types that I told you about today. So what do you think? What do you think about collecting your royalties? Do you think you're going to take the time to go do it? Do you think it's worth it? Do you not understand it still? Leave your comments down in the comment section and tell me what you think. Also, be sure to like this video and share it with somebody that might get something out of it. Until next time, it's your homeboy WordPlay TJ. Peace. And when I wake up, take me home now. Every day I'm staring at the phone now. Yeah. Okay. 3 months gone, hanging on messages. And only adults know what the method